What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this I want to break down what's happening with the overall market, which you should be watching for as time progresses. And I'm also going to account for some big news that came out over the weekend, not to mention news that's coming out later on. But let me just mention that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, and the offer ends in just over 2 weeks. Anyways, for the market right now, I just want to talk about some very important levels. The market's obviously gapping up, especially because of big news that came out over the weekend. I was very busy due to a wedding, so I didn't get a chance to really talk about the news. But I just want to say it's absolutely tragic what happened involving former President Trump. I'm saying this because at the end of the day, guys, I don't really care which side you are on. If you're on the left or right, if you're on, you're an independent, if you're part of a third party, it does not necessarily matter. Okay, violence is never the answer. Violence is never okay against any personal or former presidents. Violence is never okay, no matter what personal problems people go through. It's never okay, and I condemn it in its entirety. I just want to say I'm very grateful that former President Trump survived, and I wish him good health because once again he's a very important candidate to millions and millions of Americans. And simultaneously, I wish President Joe Biden good health because it benefits the U.S. We need him to be in a good state of mind if he's going to be doing his job. He's doing the most stressful job on the planet. I just want to be very unbiased when I say this. Now, different people have different views, completely okay. My job is not to get political right now, so I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to be a very unbiased when I say this. But I just want to make it very clear that politics needs to be aside, and we have to remember some important fundamentals, which are that violence is never the answer. It's never okay, and this will have a big effect on all of our different lives. So with that being said, I am grateful for the life I have. I'm grateful for the lives that many others have that have big impacts on our countries. And I just want to move on from this. And I really hope that the U.S. Secret Service improve their procedures. They become a lot more cautious with the way that they go about, different rallies and such. And we'll see how things go on, at least moving forward. The market obviously had a lot of upside involving President Trump, at least in the past, back when he was president. And that had a lot of reasons because of interest rates, because of different factors, his policies, and a bunch of different things came together, which caused the market to rally really hard. Not to mention the amount of liquidity that the Fed pumped into the markets, but all those different factors were very important. And knowing that there's certainty about him not only gaining popularity but surviving, this was a little bit more positive for the markets. So that's why the market's actually gapping up so far. We're going to be watching some key levels just to see if we can maintain these structures. So I'll talk about some news before I break this down. The market's obviously gapping up so far, especially after the news that came out. And then there's also some news right over here involving Goldman Sachs and many others that did relatively well for earnings. So just to be real quick, Goldman Sachs actually beat on earnings. It had better than expected fixed income in trading. EPS was once again a nice beat, and revenues also a nice beat, which is good news. BlackRock also saw its assets hit a record $10.6 trillion and on ETF flows. That is actually kind of bullish as well. So that's making a lot of headlines. And then for earnings, we just have like First Bank announcing earnings after market close. Nothing else is too crazy. Now we have big news as well that's coming out. Today is Monday, July 15th. At 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the 3-month and 6-month bill auctions coming out. And then at 12:30 p.m., we have Jerome Powell giving a speech. Now, when Powell gives his speech, it's going to cause some high volatility. We're going to have to wait and see what Powell has to say, so wait for 12:30 p.m. Now, as far as the news and as far as the market goes, SPY has this very, very key level around this 561.7 area. We did reject off that a couple of times. We have some tough resistance. If we hold above that, watch 562.5, breakdown, we're going back up to about the 563.6 area. And if we end up losing support at 561.27 or 20 EMA, if we lose this, we could be coming down to fill this gap all the way down to 559.7. So watch the 20 EMA as key support, 561.27. I'm going to make it very clear to watch and see how we end up holding. It is possible the market kind of pushes a bit, then maybe comes back down. It is a strong possibility. Watch and see if we can break the highs. If we break the all-time high, we're going to remain bullish. If we establish a lower high, if the high is in, there could be a move back down to fill this gap. So just be very mindful of that. As far as Tesla goes, yes, Tesla's holding up nicely, but watch for confirmation to see if Tesla could hold this structure. Watch 255 as key support. If we lose that, we have a gap to fall all the way down towards 248. If we're bullish, you want to break past 262. If we break the 262s, we could be pushing back up towards 26, almost 270. So I'll be watching to see what kind of reaction we get. I see a risk of us dipping towards 255, and if that fails us, we'll be dipping lower. So look and see how Tesla ends up holding up at that support, at least for the time being, especially with all the big news coming out. So just be very careful. Nvidia is looking a little bit more bullish, might be testing 132 soon to fill this imbalance. If we break this, we could push even higher towards 134. If you reject off 132, we're coming back down, but look for a little bit more upside just for the time being. Bitcoin's pushing nicely, has a bullish looking structure. I think Bitcoin might be pushing towards 63,250. If that breaks, we're going even higher, but I do see a little bit more upside potential for 63,250. For the QQQ, we have key support at 496. We also have this imbalance to fill all the way down here. So if we fail to hold the 496s, we're going to be dipping all the way down to 495. This has a bearish looking structure because we had this high right here in the 500s, came down, made a lower high at 500, came down, made a lower high. So far we're showing signs that we could be making lower highs, and this might actually break a little bit lower. It looks a little bit more probable it's going to do that. So I'll be watching to see if we could try to hold around this support at 495. If that fails us, we'll be dipping all the way down to 492. But to me, it looks like we're going to be looking out for 495 and then even lower levels. Unless we break 500, this is still looking a little bit more bearish. For Apple, we're looking a little bit more bullish. We have resistance around this 250, 235 area. If this breaks, I'll be looking for 237. If you reject here, we're coming back down to 232. This favors upside a little bit more. It looks a little stronger, technically speaking. Might be seen to 236 soon. So look a little pop, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get from there. Let me just go over a few more real quick. IWM is trying to hold at 214.5. If we lose that, we're going to be coming down to fill this gap at 213.3. If you hold above this, we could try to rebound. So watch for that carefully. We do have that gap to fill if we lose 214.5. Coinbase has also this big gap to fill. Watch resistance at 230. We'll see if this holds or not. If we reject and fail to break this trend line, so it's going to be our key resistance. This was previous support becoming resistance, this white trend line. If we break through this, I'll be looking for a move to 240. If we fail to break the trend line right over here around this 232 area, we could be rejecting and returning back down to 225, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get from there. It looks like it's going to push a little bit higher, but we'll see what the reaction happens to be. Amazon's on a bit of a downtrend, has resistance off its 15-20 EMAs. We might be looking for this 194 to 195 area that may be rejecting, so I'll be watching for that. For Meta, we're also kind of rejecting off our 20 EMA. We're kind of struggling to hold this. So I wouldn't be surprised if we retest 497. That's actually our 4-hour 200 EMA. If we lose that, we're going to turn bearish and we'll be looking for 493. If we hold 497, then we could try to rebound back up, but we're barely holding the support, so we'll just have to see how things go. Two more, and I'll conclude the video from here. Microsoft is kind of rejecting off its 50 EMA. We could be dipping back down towards 450. So watch to see what kind of reaction. It looks a little bit more bearish to me. Google's also looking a little bit more bearish. Might be retesting 185 flats, maybe a little bit lower. So watch to see if that ends up being the case. Anyways, that's it for my video. I want to thank you all so much for listening. Just know that the market is trying to gap up, but watch our key resistance levels and just know that even if the market does attempt to go a little bit higher, we'll be watching the all-time highs just to be seeing what kind of reaction we end up getting. Obviously, the market is a little bit unusual after the big news that came out. We haven't lost critical support to turn back to bearish, so we'll be watching to see if we get some kind of reaction or not. So watch and see what kind of reaction we get from there. And with that being said, I just want to thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you guys very soon in the next one. Thank you and peace out.